Propaganda is everywhere in our mainstream media, but you need to watch this mainstream media in order to figure out what the agenda is. Because, of course, this mainstream media is getting their orders from a higher power. That's pretty obvious. You and I know that. If you're here on this channel, you know the mainstream media is full of lies, it's full of propaganda. The New York Times, just one example. But let's take a look at what's in the news right now. Fed tapers another $10 billion. And the wonderful, the beautiful Janet Yellen has decided to once again reduce the amount of money printing they're doing every month. And they're making a big deal about it. The stock market did go down a little bit with initial worry that the whole stimulus package that they're providing to the world economy, I should say, that it was really going to run out, and as a result the markets are going to hurt. So there was a little downward correction there, but it doesn't seem to be making such a big wave in the markets. But you have to figure they're still printing on the surface level. Of course, there's much more going beyond the scenes. $55 billion per month. This is a significant number, and it's not as if it's winding down dramatically. You're still talking about $55 billion per month being printed and given out to banks all around the world. They're given to buy paper debt, which doesn't even make any sense. They're basically doing this scheme to fund the banking system, something that I've covered in my book countless times. Take a look at this reality. Surprised and disappointed by the pace of economic recovery. What I want to know, and this is directly to the CBO, is at what point did you think that this pace of economic recovery would ever go into the positive range? I am convinced, I have seen it, I have calculated this in many factors, that there is no recovery. That is all false. There is no recovery, so why in the world would they think that the pace would increase? They make up these GDP numbers, they make up the unemployment numbers, and everything is fictional. But the CBO thinks that they should have grown further and there should have been a better economic recovery. And the Fed says the exact same thing every time. They keep saying, we're going to have to keep interest rates down very low for the foreseeable future because of the, we're having a little trouble getting the market started again. When you print money and then you buy debt, all of which is fictional, it can have absolutely zero effect on the economy other than to take asset prices and reduce their value, thereby increasing their price. This is such a game that they've been playing for the longest time. The central banks keep doing this. They devalue the money, the asset prices, and they can't control it. But certain asset prices, for example equities, can dramatically rise. But all that means is that the dollars are worth less. Something, again, that I've covered so many times. States' rebellion against food stamp cuts grows. Now they're talking about cutting one of the biggest programs in the US right now, one of the most important for obvious reasons. But let's talk about the reality that nearly 50 million people in the U.S. are on the food stamp program, the SNAP program. This is a massive quantity of people in the U.S. requiring that, and there's over 100 million people on food assistance. So when we talk about the real economic factors, how many people are dependent on the government to eat? That's the real economic factors I'm talking about, not the ones that the Fed and the CBO keep mentioning. This is absolutely realistic when you look at it, the real factors that are important. And what about this? This is actually very convenient now with the whole Russia and the U.S. having a little quarrel. Russian holdings of U.S. debt dropped 20% in the last year, and this is very recent news. And you need to think, did they know something was coming on, or is it more of a bigger picture thing? And I'll talk about the bigger picture because, of course, I don't have the insider intel here. But I would like to talk about this bigger picture in that Russia and China and the other developing nations are looking at the US, and they're saying this is a ship that's ready to be sunk, and they don't want any part of it. So they are slowly but strategically, of course, reducing their holdings, and they're doing so cautiously and gradually. China overall in recent past has been buying less of the US debt, but of course they still own a large amount of it. But you can tell from the things they say and from their actions that they need to drop off this debt sooner rather than later, at which point would ultimately bring a destruction to the US dollar. One of the other things that I've mentioned many times is that the countries are now doing trade, many of them are doing trade with their own currencies. This is a currency war. This is what they're trying to do. They don't need nukes. They don't need bombs. They don't need to put 80,000 troops on the Ukraine and Russia border. They don't need this. They don't need NATO. They use a currency war and they could collapse any country they want. Russia and China have the ability. Will they do that? I'm not saying that they will. I can't predict that. However, I will say that they have the power to do so. When a country, such an important country like China, has the power of the US in their hands because of all their treasury holdings, they have the power to collapse their economy, and this is more powerful than any nuclear bomb. If you guys want to get onto the moneygps.com, take a scroll down to the bottom and you will see the Money GPS Insiders. That is basically an extension of the work I do at the Money GPS YouTube channel and also an extension of what I've done in my book, The Money GPS. You get on there, fill in your email address, and you will receive occasional emails from me. I hope you'll join the rest of the many people that are on there and are giving me good feedback so far. Take care.